Remember we left off and Fred had said was writing on the board in Jelly Bean 2, my ice cream excises politicians, and then this big old word, multitudinous, something like that. How would you pronounce that word? Because there's just so many syllables, you could just get all tongue tangled up. But he wasn't through. He wanted one more word, and he wanted it to be a noun. And that's a person, a place, or a thing to make sense. So far, in his sentence, he had talked about, how his ice cream would get rid of politicians, many. That's what this word means, many. I think it's just easier to write many down, really. But if you wanted to look super, super smart, you could use that word. So what he came up with was a 17-syllable word, conscientiousness, plural, because conscientiousness is only 15 syllables, and he wanted one more syllable. Conscientious, that right there is 15 syllables, and now he needed 2 more syllables, and so he added the 2 more, and he got out to, so he had one word with 2 syllables, 2 letters, 3 letters, 5 letters, 7 letters, 11 letters, 13 letters, and all the way to 17 letters. And why in the world is he writing this on the chalkboard or the whiteboard at the pizza conference? It makes 0 sense. Well, it's simple. It's because 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, and 17 are prime numbers, meaning the only way to get to 2 is 1 times 2. The only way to get 3 is 1 times 3. The only way to get to 5 is 1 times 5. The only way to get to 7 is 1 times 7, 1 times 11, 1 times 13, 1 times 17. Well, you might say, what about 4? Well, I can get to 4 with 1 times 4, and 2 times 2 equals 4. So 4 can't be it. What about 6? Same with 6. I can do 1 times 6, or I can do 2 times 3 will get to 6. So 4 and 6 are not prime numbers. 8, 9, 10, 12, 14, 15, and 16 all can be, you can have 2 or more ways to multiply them, so they're not prime. So prime numbers can only be that number times 1 and can't be any other combination. So here's a little chart about prime numbers, and it shows us here that the numbers in yellow are all prime numbers. Now 1 is not a prime number, but we have 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17. If Fred could have figured out a 19-letter word, he would have had got 19, 23, 29, 31, 37, 41, 43, 47, 53, 59, 61, 67, 71, 73, 79, 83, 89, and 97. Those are all the prime numbers. Now, looking up here, prime numbers are numbers greater than 1, so that's why 1 isn't it, that cannot be divided by any number except themselves and 1. So 4 can be divided by 2 and 1. 6 can be divided by 1 and 2 and 3, and so forth. So the numbers in white can be divided by more numbers than just 1. And it shows us an example here. 7 is a prime number because it can only be divided by 7 and 1. Now 70, though, is not a prime number because it can be divided by 70, 35, 14, 10, 7, 5, 2, and 11. And you could get an answer. Okay? Now, Betty was so excited about what the sentence that Fred had wrote that she telephoned the Guinness Book of World Records to tell them that Fred had created the world's longest prime number sentence. And everyone stood up and clapped and applauded. Even Joe stood up and clapped. And one man ran up and shook Fred's little hand. It was a mistake because Fred was holding a dry erase marker in his hand. You can see, look, it turns into a marker. I don't know. That looks like a hand too big to be little Fred's. But anyhow, you get the point. But Fred was exhausted, and his pink bow tie was crooked. But Elaine Marie, who had introduced him, told him his speech was magnificent, and that the Polka Dot Publishing Company would be happy to invite him back to the next conference in 4 years. Yeah, how old would Fred be in 4 years? 9? Fred said he would be delighted, and next time he would not fritter away his time during the day. He would be prepared. And at that exact moment, Stan Anthony comes in from the kitchen and announces, "The pizzas are ready. If everyone would take a seat, I will serve them to you." And he handed a pizza to Sam, and he said, "Enjoy your pizza, Sam." And then he handed one to Tracy. "Enjoy your pizza, Tracy." And so he's calling out names. "Shirley, here's your pizza. Jean, here's your pizza. Shelley, Drew, Cameron, Jean, Pat, Louise, Haley, Matt, Jan, Tom, Robin, Shirley." Fred was amazed. How did Stan Anthony remember who ordered which pizza? How did he remember what Tracy had ordered as opposed to what Drew had ordered? He just took their orders, and he hadn't even written down what table the people were sitting at. So if everyone were from Kitten's University, then he would have learned their names over time. But many of these people were people from all around the world that had come just to hear Fred speak. Well, Fred figured, life is full of mysteries, so keep going and you'll find out the answers. He'd figure out how Stan Anthony remembered everything sooner or later, but right now he wasn't going to worry about it. Most of the seats were taken. Fred found an empty one, sat down, and closed his eyes for a second. It had been a busy Sunday. Giving the keynote speech was the last thing on his schedule today. He could relax now, and all of a sudden, someone's pulling on his sleeve. He didn't want to open his eyes. All of a sudden, there was a child pulling on his sleeve, saying, "Hey, Mr. Man, I heard you talk about it. You talked about ice cream. Have you met my dolly? You are a very short man, or are you a little boy?" Fred answered, "Yes, I did. No, boy." Well, I don't know. It's a girl. Don't know why he said the word boy. The little girl didn't understand. She wasn't even listening to the things that were coming out of her mouth. She was already distracted. Lacking another segue, she held up her doll. And said, "This is Ragga Fluffy Doll. She's my doll." She looks at Fred and says, "Is this a girl doll or a boy doll? I don't know." Fred couldn't tell if it was a boy doll or a girl doll. He really didn't even care. He was so tired. So he said, "You know what? Don't know. Go ask your mommy." It was really a silly question because it's a doll. It's kind of a thing. It's probably even just an alien. Little kids ask the really strange questions. And it's that time. Dun, 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 dun. Your turn to play. Good luck. So your assignment is ask for the Fred questions, ask for the oat metal worksheet, and then if you still have time until 2 o'clock, practice your yellow card.